Hi, this is Emma Willis.
And I'm Helen Cristoni.
Welcome to our Make Time podcast. We are two women on a mission to uncover the secrets of making time for everything.
From work and relationships to our brain, body, and beauty, we'll explore it all and share it with all of you.
We interview experts so we can discover more practical tips to make time so we have more time for our family, friends, and ourselves.
So join us as we chat with incredible guests who share their expertise on all the ways we can learn to make time, especially for you.
Okay, it's time to make time. Hey everyone, it's Emma, and today on the Make Time podcast, we're diving into one of my favorite topics, which is sleep. We're joined by Mollie Eastman, the creator of Sleep is a Skill and host of Sleep is a Skill podcast. After struggling with insomnia while traveling, Mollie set out to understand sleep on a deeper level and ended up building an entire company dedicated to helping people improve it through technology, accountability, and real behavioral change. She's now interviewed more than 200 sleep experts, writes a hugely popular weekly newsletter, and has become a leading voice in what she calls the forgotten skill set of sleep. Today, she's here to help us make time for better rest. And trust me, you'll walk away with tips you'll want to put into practice tonight. So let's make time for Mollie Eastman. Mollie, hello, and welcome to the Make Time podcast. We're so excited to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm really excited to have Mollie on the show today because she and I met at this biohacking dinner in Austin, and we just really connected, and I just had the best time meeting you. So I'm really excited that we're making this happen today.
I know, me too. No, we had a blast. That was fantastic and excited to go in deeper.
Yeah, I had heard about the two of you meeting, and when Helen came back, she's like, I met this girl, Mollie. She's a sleep expert. You have to start following her, which I have been, and your content has really been so educational. And, you know, Helen and I are really big into sleep. We all have our Oura rings. We're
amazing. Love it.
We're comparing, so as we know, sleep for brain health is so important. So that is why we have you on today. So you can just dig deeper on sleep.
Fantastic. Well, one, thank you so much for following it. I'm so glad that you have been getting value, because my real mission on the planet is to provide as many practical takeaways for people in the area of improving their sleep. I've shared with Helen that, I went through my own sleep challenges. So this was hard-won information along the way, and continue to really want to bring in mastery for myself and others, and from the lens that sleep is a skill. It's not as if we're ever done. Life will keep shifting. I just turned 40, so hormones are shifting. New things are occurring for me. And so for every single one of us, I think it provides this new frame, potentially, hopefully, of how we can look at this thing we do every single night. On average, a third of our lives are spent asleep. So 26 years on average are spent asleep. And yet many of us might not think about it so often. And kudos to both of you for really prioritizing this, tracking this. And on the topic of Oura Ring, for us at Sleep is a Skill, we have one of the larger databases of Oura Ring users. So we get to look at what really moves the needle. And it's really fascinating because there's so many things that we can do.
And when you say we, who are you referring to? Like, how are you pulling this data in?
Yeah, so we have a Teams dashboard. So we being myself and my team. And so we've been, running Sleep is a Skill for almost a decade. And so about 7 years of weekly newsletters where we send out every single Monday, never miss a Monday, information on sleep optimization. On the Oura Ring dashboard itself, we've had just hundreds and hundreds of people on the dashboard, which is fantastic because you get to see on a granular level what really can move the needle for people. And sometimes it's things that we might not expect. And sometimes it's even very straightforward, very clear, the temperature that you're sleeping at, the types of foods you're eating. But then other times it's more kind of subjective or esoteric of how we're feeling, our joy level, how we're engaging in the world around us, our stress, et cetera. So I think that's what's really so fascinating is that sleep, I always say, I feel like I hit the jackpot on this topic because it allows you to really examine your whole life. And I'm sure you've seen that on the Oura Ring, how it just kind of leaks in all these things that we might be dealing with, but even unexpected things. So you start working out more. Maybe that one's a little bit expected. If you start working out, hopefully you're going to improve your sleep. But there might be other ones, the timing of your food, the types of food, the thoughts that you're engaging in, the times of the thoughts that you're engaging in, the types of prescriptions, supplements, coffee, alcohol, things that we might know, but then other things that we might not know as much as it relates to like the timing of particular types of light that you're under and the proxemics of when you're exposed to these things. So it really is a bit of a rabbit hole.
So let's for our listeners, I think why is it so important that people are making time for their sleep? If you can just break it down for everyone listening.
Oh, totally. Okay. Well, so why is it so important to make time for our sleep? Well, one, for many people, a sleep opportunity for actually giving time to even have the availability of the option to sleep is something that many people are not actually segmenting out in their day. During the pandemic, we heard this term called revenge bedtime procrastination, which sounds almost like a funny comical name, but it's actually research behind this of our tendency to really just procrastinate on going to bed. So we're staving off or taking away something that's going to have the opportunity to really feed us to support our health and well-being. Yet we're not doing it.
That is me. I am a revenge bedtime procrastinator. And thank you for putting a name to that for me, because I am that.
I am not. I am the opposite of that. I am 8:30, bye.
That's bye. Yes. Yes. The clarity. Well, this is perfect. So we've got the yin to the yang. This is amazing.
I'm an early riser, right? So I'm up by 4:35.
Sure.
I am exhausted by 8. I am done all things.
Well, I'm an early riser too, so that's the problem.
She's staving off on both sides. Yeah, totally. Well, and to this topic of making time, I do think it's important. We're talking about sleep to actually address what type of person we're speaking to. So, because one, insomniacs, so people that have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, and that's what I dealt with about a decade ago, and it completely changed the course of my life. Very, scary time that I went through in my life because I desperately wanted sleep. So it wasn't as if, oh, I'm not making the time. I mean, I would make the time. And often insomniacs, that's what we see. They're spending too much time in bed. So it's not even just about for that group, the carving out of the literal hours of a day. Instead, it's about what are we doing in the rest of the day? How are we managing our nervous system such that we're so jacked up that by the time we lay our head down on our pillow, that we're almost psyching ourselves out, almost like performance anxiety. And so that group, what we really want to do is make time for whatever we got to deal with by the day that's stressing us out, whether it's your finances out of control, how's your relationship, how's your friendships, are you spending all the time alone, whatever it is, we got to peel back the layers and see what is impacting your sense of well-being and safety to be able to turn off at night. So that's the insomniac group. But then there's another group that, Helen, thank you so much for illustrating that, because there's so many people that are in your camp that are saying, okay, but I got all this other stuff to do that's interesting or whatever. So for that group, then we might be really educating on how could setting aside and making sacred our bedtimes and wake up times, how could that just excel and amplify all the things that we do by day? And then Emma, for you, it's really addressing, okay, so we've got this really dialed in circadian rhythm. And it sounds like from what I'm hearing from you, that's working. So that piece is amazing. And then we would kind of reverse engineer, are there any other areas that we can further support so that the quality of that sleep when you wake up in the morning, you're feeling great and all of that?
Yeah. I go to bed early, but then I'm the one that wakes up at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, oh my God, I got to get myself back to sleep.
So common. So I'm so glad you mentioned the wake ups, because Overwhelmingly, that's one of the biggest reasons that people come to sleep as a skill is because, and just in general, when we hear complaints around sleep, we know that there's a very large percentage of people that are dealing with nighttime wake-ups. U.S. News and World Reports just did a survey this year in 2025, and they found that it was in the around low 80% of people that are dealing with wake-ups throughout the night. So a lot of people are dealing with wake-ups. Now, as far as wake-ups too, if any insomniacs are listening, I just want to underscore, wake-ups are natural and normal to a certain extent. So it's the number of wake-ups that we're having. How hard is it for us to fall back asleep after we do wake up? And then we want to see, are there certain patterns, things that are emerging? And if we say, we might have some misnomers. So we might say, oh, I'm always waking up because I got to go pee. That's one of the most common ones. And yet, if you do wake up after a bunch of hours of being asleep, it does make sense that you might have to go pee because you haven't for many hours. But the kind of thing that might be underneath that is there a different reason for that wake up beyond just, maybe not drinking water a little bit before bed? Often there's other things. Could there be glucose issues, cortisol issues? That's what we want to peel back the layer on.
Attention, all busy women. Let me introduce you to Make Time Wellness, the wellness brand that's here to make your life a little easier. Say goodbye to the hassle of multiple pills. We have crafted delicious drink mixes that are packed with brain-boosting, body-nurturing, and beauty-enhancing ingredients. Make Time supplements are the perfect addition to your daily routine. We have loaded them with key essential ingredients like MCTs, omegas, biotin, multivitamins, and curcumin. You will feel the difference in no time. Ready to give it a try? Head over to maketimewellness.com/podcast20 and you will get 20% off your first order. Make your brain, body, and beauty a priority today with Make Time Wellness.
So tell me something. Give us 3 actionable tips on how to make time for sleep.
Okay. So we have 3 real anchor habits that we have everyone begin with at Sleep as a Skill. So 1, we look at your most powerful. It's called Zeitgeber, but you don't have to call it that. Zeitgeber or time giver is a kind of translation for that. And so this time giver, the most powerful one that we know of for circadian health is our light-dark cycling. And so what does that look like in practical application? It means that we're seeking out brighter days and darker nights than pretty much anyone you know, because just about anyone that we know in our modern society is not getting sufficient bright light by day and darkness by night. So what this would actually look like, we are really seeking out way more time outside than the average person is getting, making sure that we don't have sunglasses on for the entirety of that time. Like, you can have sunglasses, please, don't get me wrong, if there's safety issues or what have you, but we want to be removing those more often than the average person is, including hats or things that could obstruct the ability for that light to both get in the eyes and elements on the skin, which is, has become a bit controversial, but from circadian science, it's very clear that you want to responsibly get yourself a bit of sunlight in the eyes and on the skin throughout the day. Now, we had one of our most listened to experts was with Dr. Sachin Panda out of the Salk Institute. Fantastic, amazing research. He also wrote a book, The Circadian Code, if anyone wants any additional information. But some of the research that he found was that you're looking to at least get 1 hour of time outside when your eyes are not covered and your skin is not totally covered, so that you are being able to make sufficient melatonin at night. Which this is really fascinating information because we didn't understand this until recent years. What does this mean? This means that we're making subcellular melatonin from the presence of light, which could be so confusing because historically we would think about melatonin as kind of the hormone of darkness, the vampire hormone. It has all these, dark labels, which is true. You do need darkness to get ample amount of melatonin at night. But for the ability for the body to create it in sufficient amounts, you need that light. And since we know the average person is spending well over 90% of their time indoors, then we're not getting it. So here lies the problem. Okay, so that's the light dark as number 1. The second one is consistency. And this one's so boring that no one wants to hear it, but here I am. So you're looking to get up. And Emma, it sounds like maybe you might be doing this one. And Helen, you might be too, since it sounds like you're also getting up early. But 7 days a week, we are looking to get up at about the same time, plus or minus 30 minutes. And so we're looking to anchor in that consistency. And I do say wake up time intentionally because that is one where you always have a say over the time that you wake up. You don't necessarily always have as much of a say when you fall asleep, got stuff on your mind. And if we try to force, an exact bedtime, we'll stress people out. And you can, of course, set the stage and wind down at a particular time, but you can always wake up at the, time you decide. So that's what we're looking to consistently do, even if we didn't sleep well the night before. And that's where people get, a little stuck. So there's that one. The last one. Now, this one is a big one. And I often hear that this is so simple, but often challenging in our society. And this is about meal timing and meal type. So what this one looks like, and both of you have Oura rings, so I'm sure you've seen this, where if you eat later, even if it's really healthy or what have you, right, you'll see your heart rate go up, your HRV go down, your respiratory rate go up, your body temperature go up. If you're dealing with any type of airway issues, sleep apnea, snoring, etc., you'll see all the severity of those issues go way up. So the meal timing is huge, but also the meal type. So that's why Oura, not to make this an ad for Oura, but Oura is one that just kind of partnered up with Dexcom so that we can overlay glucose information and see, oh my gosh, all of those wake ups that I'm having at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, they also coincide with drops in glucose, which is stressful for the body. So then it wakes up. And now not only are you awake, but you often have trouble falling back asleep because it's the type of awake where the body is now in kind of a something's wrong energy. So that looks at if you have a continuous glucose monitor like Dexcom, we can see what are the types of foods that you're having that we can kind of adjust and support more stability with your glucose. Since we know that in average estimates out of the United States anyway, 93% of Americans having some form of metabolic dysfunction. So if you, as we had a guest on the podcast, Ben Azadi, that, exhibited or exemplified this by saying if you're walking down a street, you have 100 people and 93 of them have metabolic dysfunction. Those are the stats that we're seeing in the United States. So most people, if you were to throw a CGM on them, would have spiking and crashing. And that's stressful in the body. It's inflammatory. It's anxiety provoking, and certainly sleep disruptive, both in fragmentation and quality. So those top 3 things are really, really big. And that doesn't mean that's all of them. I'd also throw in bonus of temperature timing. Our body temperature is on a circadian rhythm. So it is meant to go up and it's meant to markedly go down while we're sleeping. And then to stay in this cooler state for a bulk of your night, start to slowly warm up to almost prepare you for awakening. That's when we move into more REM sleep. But things along these lines to learn all of these different components can just so transform your sleep and your life.
So I think this is so interesting to me because first of all, I just did the Oura Ring glucose thing and I just did it and I did it for 2 weeks and and I knew going in that I probably really didn't have that much of an issue here, right? 'Cause I live a pretty healthy lifestyle, but it was interesting to see my late spikes and what that did to my sleep. And then also I have my husband, sometimes, I mean, if he could eat at 4:30 every single day, he would.
Yeah, I remember him saying that. The two of you, we got to connect. Yes, yes.
He is really like, I hate eating late. I can't sleep. It's not good for me. And this is something he is so adamant about. So he's a really early eater because he's an early eater. Now I'm an early eater. And it really does those late meals. Like if we go out and if we have dinner, it's automatic that it affects your sleep quality in a bad way. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head because we're early eaters. We have 2 young daughters. They're 11 and 13, and we've always kind of eaten around 5:30, I want to say. We pushed it a little bit as school starts, and we'll probably go to 6. But my issue is that at the end of the night, I love to grab my snack, get into bed, put on a show, and I'm eating my snack being like, this is going to mess with me. It's going to mess with me. So,
understand.
why am I waking up at 3:00 in the morning? It's my late snack. That's what's waking me up at 3:00 in the
I
morning.
get it.
So there's that.
Well, I love one, the knowledge. Two, I completely relate. That was one of the biggest transformations that I made. Okay, this is one of my kind of vices, is that popcorn, to the point of nuts for popcorn. I literally thought, my husband's a big entrepreneur. I'm entrepreneurial. And so for a whole stretch of time, a good stretch of my life, I was like, I'm going to make a company called Popcorn Possibilities. I'm going to have these. Okay, I hope no one takes it's great idea. But basically in the popcorn would have a little, almost like a Willy Wonka style, like fortune cookie thing in it, some sort of possibilities, whatever. Whole thing. Love popcorn. It was a part of my identity. And yet that was at night. I would say I've earned this. I mean, I had a hard day and blah, blah, blah. And I would throw back this popcorn. But it's one of the worst things to spike your glucose, right? I don't know if anyone's seen that on glucose, CGMs. It's a problem. And so this took a real constructed effort over a long stretch of time and seeing the data for so long. So now I've been tracking in any way, shape, and form of my sleep since 2012, back with the Zeo. Used to be a kind of a head-based tracker, which has gone out of business. But I've been tracking my sleep for a very long time. And so eventually you see the data, and I'm talking about these things. So I had to start shifting that out. But the difference that it makes and how I feel is just incredible. So then how can I make circadian aligned indulgences? So then it would be like, okay, so I'm still going to get my popcorn at certain times in my life, but I'm going to move that back earlier. How can we bring the circadian alignment? And this is what's really interesting. So circadian alignment as it relates to meals really harkens back to ancestral days when we think about the fact we used to live outdoors. So we would eat, we really only had the opportunity to eat as hunter-gatherers when the sun would be out. And then once the sun would set, it was pretty much party over. It's total darkness. There's no refrigerator, pantries, etc. You can't go hunting in total darkness. So you are done. And we are really set up with our leptin and ghrelin levels to be able to make sure that we are calming down that spike in hunger as the night goes on. And if we are seeing that we're having some of those spikes into the night, that can be a sign that we still have some things we can do to support our circadian health. And most of us can, because most of us have things that are thrown off. We're looking at our screens, we've got the blue light, we've got stressors, we are all jazzed up 24/7. And that's just nowhere similar to how we used to live. So there's an opportunity for us to start to see that we can kind of peel back the layers on this.
I want to touch on the phone because it's such a, there's a lot of opinions on what to do with it. How far away should it be from you? Like what's your opinion on phone usage? Where should it go? And when should you put it down?
Yeah. And it is layered, actually. It's really interesting because you might think, well, it's just so clear. It's a no-go zone. But there does seem to be some research where, depending on the content of what you're taking in, the type of light and even the proxemics of how close it is to you. So the light exposure of these things, controversially EMFs, but it's a whole other topic. But certainly at least the lights. Then we do see some research that some people actually are so queued up and connected to their phones. It's almost like adult pacifiers or something, where it's helping to calm some of our anxieties. Now, is this good in the long term? The implication of this, but at least in these studies for short term, we do see some people actually able to fall asleep with more ease when they do have some access to their phones. So this does kind of complicate it, but I would say most commonly what you're going to hear, and it does seem to land with some common sense thinking, is certainly, well, one, we know not sleeping with the phone seems to be really important for a few reasons. One, even for this concept of going timeless, which is big in kind of insomniac teaching, so CBTI, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or ACTI, ACT for insomnia. What we know about that is we're looking to go timeless so that throughout the course of the night, we don't even know what time it is when we haven't fallen asleep or we've woken up a bunch of times. So we can't do that mental mathematical gymnastics of saying, oh no, I only have a couple hours left. I have a big day, blah, blah, blah. All of that sort of stuff. We can set that aside. So that's one reason not to have the phone in our grasp while we're sleeping. Certainly another reason is the tendency to then go into that addictive portal, as we know. Thought timing. So this is a really fascinating one. Our thoughts also exist on our circadian rhythm. So similar to that glucose conversation that we're speaking about, the way I mentioned, the analogy is with eating, say you have, I don't know, a burger or salad or whatever, you have that same thing at say 12 p.m., it's going to respond in your glucose very different at 12 a.m. Well, same rules apply with thoughts. So we see that our thoughts, and this some of this comes out of a really great study called The Mind After Midnight, where they found that the types of thoughts you're engaging in the wee hours of the morning have a very different flavor. And so they kind of have this catastrophic thinking to them, this black and white tendency, and sadly, suicidality rates going way up in the middle of the night because of this sort of flawed logic. So when we think about these things, it's just important for us to realize that the types of thoughts that, we see one piece of stimuli on the phone in, late into the night, you might then see it very differently in those wee hours in the morning because you're thinking in kind of a darker, I shouldn't say darker, but it's more catastrophic in nature versus how you feel the next day. And I'm sure, you guys have probably had that experience too, where, right? It seems so much more bleak in the wee hours of the morning. Then the next day you're like, oh, it's not really that bad. So those are some of the reasons that having that phone in its presence can be disruptive, not to mention the dopamine hits, the task switching that's happening when you're scrolling, the stimuli that has lots of variability and lack of predictability often of what might, kind of send triggers of thoughts your way. That activation, a new study just came out recently that found that the emotionality that you're going to bed with seems to impact the type of sleep that you're getting, particularly in REM. And so this means that in the minutes before bed, if you are taking in all this doom scrolling and all the things, that's going to set the tone for the types of thoughts, dreams, and the penchant for your ability to get enough REM sleep that night and slip into that REM with more ease. So we have more power than we might realize, and the phone might not be our best servant of that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. I need to put the phone away because
don't we all?
Let's put the phone away.
Period. In the other room, somewhere else, and let's just work on sleeping.
Yes. I mean, Arianna Huffington famously came out with an actual product of a bed. Did everyone see this? The bed where you tuck the phone in, you put the little sheets or whatever.
That's right.
And it happens to also charge the phone. But it's like the symbolism of you are tucking your phone into bed. Now, do we need all that? I don't know. But some sort of ritual to set it aside in the bathroom or whatever you got to do.
Sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, Mollie, this is also fascinating. Exactly why I wanted to have you on today. There's like so much. We could talk about this forever, but I want to know, like we always ask our guests here that come on the show, what are you not making time for, Mollie, that you're going to commit to make more time for?
Well, I mean, it's almost could not have been served up any better because I am currently in the midst of a challenge with some friends where we're all sending our screen time screenshots, which is very disturbing.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's like the most, disturbing thing that you could see when it's all coming through. So we're in the midst of this, right? But then what do you fill your time with when you aren't filling it with that automaticity of whatever else was going on with all that screen time? So one thing that I'm just playing with right now is boredom, which I know sounds ridiculous, but we have research that the body and mind actually needs opportunity to not be doing anything, to be in the shower and not listening to some epic Audible book or something, which maybe I'm revealing my ridiculous habits. But, to actually just, I don't know, be folding the laundry and not learning about quantum physics at the same time, just being. And for me, this is, and, many insomniacs like I have gone through in my life tend to have some of that overthinking habits, rumination patterns, all these. We do see that tends to be a tendency in insomniacs. So it really takes something for me to do nothing. So that's what I'm really practicing. So thank you for helping me be able to declare that publicly.
We call that here at Make Time, making time for a brain break. Because like if your brain if it really feels like there's too much going on, like listen to it, because you really need those times where you just sit and breathe and sit outside, maybe take your sunglasses off and get some sun in your face, So,
exactly.
Really, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And you're such a wealth of information. And I always learn so much by just sitting and talking to you. So I'm so grateful that you're here. And for our listeners, like, where can they find you? Where are you at so they can dig deeper into this? Because I know it's such a huge topic. So I want to make sure that everyone reaches out and follows you wherever you are.
Oh, well, thanks so much for saying that. And the feeling is mutual. I loved connecting with you in real life, but then also connecting with both of you. This has been great. Also, I do just want to say, again, the reason that this is such a mission for me is that I do feel like I dodged a bullet, because when I went to the doctors at various different places, my husband and I were traveling internationally. We've been together 14 years, and each doctor's spot that we would go to, sleeping pills, all of these things, right? And I come from a family with a long history of heavy pharmaceutical use, unfortunately, just sort of prescriptions and not much else attached to it. And so I am very thankful that I was able to get in some of these conversations with people like yourself that are helping to provide these platforms and sharing of information to just give us all agency over our health and well-being, and really at the helm of some of the most cutting edge things that we can do for our health. So having said that, if people are listening, if you're struggling with your sleep, or if you're just looking to optimize, going to sleepisaskill.com can provide lots of things that you can do. So one, you can take a sleep assessment. It'll give you specific information back, just right away for free on things that you can do to support your sleep. We have audits. So we audit your wearable data, Whoop, Oura Ring, et cetera. We have cohorts. We have additional courses that are about to be coming out in addition to what we already have been running for a while. One-on-one packages. I actually specialize with poker players of all things. I work with a ton of high-stakes poker players. So if we can work with that group that's just in casinos, designed on purpose to confuse the circadian rhythm, total out of whack with their circadian health. If we can work with them and make a difference, anything is possible for anyone listening. And so no matter where you're at, there's information that you can glean, whether from our newsletter, podcast, et cetera, for free, or if you want additional support, things that we can offer too.
That's great. Mollie, thank you so much for making time with us today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me and for the work that you're all doing.
Thanks, Mollie. It was so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope that listening to our podcast has empowered you to make more time for yourself. So please remember to subscribe and share with a friend who could also use a healthy reminder on the importance of making time.
Make sure to tune in, as we will continue to have incredible guests that will share their Make Time tips on our upcoming episodes. Come say hi to us over on @MakeTimePod on social media, or visit us at MakeTimeWellness.com.
Until next time, make time.